How'd you do it? How'd you replace our Olivia?
The opportunity to play an alternate version of myself was really exciting because it's not just the challenge of playing two different characters, but it's playing two different characters that are very similar.
What was he like?
He wasn't that unlike you.
This season, we have characters that are genetically exactly the same, but they've made different choices with their life and end up in very different places.
We went back and forth a lot on how much to tell of the parallel universe, but we felt that we could get more into our own characters' lives and show different aspects of their personalities to their doppelgangers.
It's an ideal acting challenge, really, because Walter in himself gives me so much freedom to use my skills and experience. But then to have this other character, this stitched-up fellow who's very powerful, to get the vulnerabilities in there, just to sneak them in, just to see the little cracks in the armour, that's been a really interesting... It has to be done slowly, and the writers have been really good at accommodating that change.
I was so excited. I'd sort of been pitching for an alternate version of Olivia for ages.
We happened to be in Vancouver the first time the role of Bolivia was being played, and we were standing outside of our sets, and this woman walked by, and every head turned. It was like, oh my God, who's that hot? Oh, it's Anna. It was a really weird moment. It just kind of like came through her.
What I knew for sure is that I wanted her to have like a much kind of brighter and a much kind of lighter view of the world. I wanted her to be just a little bit more comfortable in her skin, a little bit more comfortable in her body, and then the rest is what the writers kind of give for you, and then I think there becomes like a little dance where you kind of feed off each other a bit.
The way Anna walks as both characters, there's a whole set of dialogue that comes from like, it's like a girl who would walk that way would talk a certain way.
Yeah, photographic memory. How am I gonna do that? I mean, you sort of put little things in, but like, you know, the way they hold their guns but it's because I keep going back and forth between the two. I can never get a handle properly. And I'll start doing little things that I'm like, oh, that's totally Olivia, awesome. And then I'll be playing Olivia and I'll do it and I'll be like, damn it, I needed to save that for the other one.
Hey, back row! Get your hands out of your pockets.
This is a really kind of cool episode because it's really like a procedural episode, one of our kind of standalones, except on the other side. Put your hands on your head. It's tough to define them both because I've got one who thinks she's the other and the other one pretending to be the other. So neither of them are just... it's not like I just have these two characters that I can play with, so I'm constantly trying to go, well, what do they think of the other, or what do they think of each other? So I have my own internal process, but I can't even begin to articulate it to you. The conversation about a potential wig came up, and that was kind of the first I went, oh, we are really going.
You remind me of somebody I know. But your hair is different. I think I like yours better.
Anna and I went to a wig store and tried on about 25 different wigs, and we really liked what was the eventual Bolivia look. Bangs and some caramel highlights in sort of a warm brown, and we showed the producers, directors. They all zeroed in on this one wig too, so it wasn't a total surprise. This is what immediately looked good on Anna. Bolivia running along, defending the universe, sorting things out. This is the wig that we use most for dripping wet. It's had the most abuse. It's been in a tank with chlorine and water about, at least a dozen times. It's swum in English Bay. It's been through a hell of a lot. So every now and again, we have to recolor it, give it its intensity back. Most of its time, it's dripping wet.
I don't belong here.
Sedator. The major thing that I did with Walter was have him much more military in his stature. Walter is a beaten man. He's slumped. He's spent a lot of time just as a beaten character, pathetic character, and he's very vulnerable. The other man is very proud in his bearing. His voice is much more. He's much surer in his voice. His voice sits in a different place. I intend to restore balance to our world. Whatever it takes.
I liked writing Walternate because it was essentially the same person, but because of this one event, the taking of his son, he had taken a different path than Walter, and he had become a completely different person in a sense. It's really a good study in nature versus nurture because they were identical people until that one act.
Agent Farnsworth.
Royals, Philip Colonel.
Alt-Astrid was the one instance where we decided instead of a choice thing, it will actually be a genetic difference.
Right.
And it makes her uniquely suited to do her job to process information without an emotional component.
0.000. Impossible. When, Folivia and alternate Charlie and Lincoln Lee come up and talk to her, it's so much easier for her to not look at their faces to give them the information, and she just keeps her eyes on the screen or off to the side. Or when she's not in front of her screen, she'll look at their chest.
Yes, sir. In the meantime, I think that you will want to look at this.
I think that Astrid is probably the character that is most different between the two worlds. I would love for Walter, our Walter, to meet that Astrid at some point because I think his mind would be totally blown.
Walter, as we know, wears shabby clothes, basically like I have on here, which are the leftovers from his 1970s wardrobe. Our designer, Jenny Galletti, decided, and I'm so pleased she did, that Walternate should be impeccably dressed. And so we've had all these beautiful suits specifically tailored for me.
We just wanted to have a different silhouette, and which wasn't hard to do because Olivia never wears anything except just suits, straight up and down.
The act of getting into my wardrobe kind of puts you in this different state of mind. You've got this Astrid who wears heels and jewelry and makeup, and then you've got your other Astrid who puts on combat boots and fatigues, and they're really scratchy. They're not very comfortable clothes. She puts the beret on and makes sure that all the curls are tucked under except a few right in front.
Let's go, people.
She was right.
Ooh.
Agent Dunham.
Lance loved the alternate broils, but he's dead, so there's a pity about that.
Here, there we would from there would drift down. Not talking about over, but there'd be a smear there.
Smear. Pretty gruesome and great.
Alt Universe, Agent Broyles' body here. What we have is an Agent Broyles minus a certain mass, and that missing mass accounts for the difference between his weight and Anna's weight. So we did a bit of research and found out how much a human leg weighs, which is about 20% of a body's mass.
Yeah, I mean, that was the day that I saw myself dead, episode 8. That was a powerful, well, it's a little freaky thinking about it now.
I think it's coming together right now as the finishing touches, and then we'll put it on set, and once it's lit, it should all come together. But the real moment will be when Lance looks at it and see his reaction. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Broyles is a seasoned soldier, so he's been in war. He's seen people die, he's killed people. But it's a whole nother thing when you actually really see yourself. Another one of your
The major challenge with something like this is if you introduce characters that the audience aren't sympathetic with, even though they're the same as us, then you have the challenge of getting the audience to care about them. Because if an audience doesn't care, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are. And I think we spent a little time doing that.
I made a promise to a friend over there, and I swore that I would do everything that I can to heal both worlds.